Welcome, Senator Cory Booker.
Brother, it is incredible to be in your office. We've known each other for years, and I've never been to your office.
And the amazing thing is I don't do so many Longer Tables podcasts here in my office, and I should do more of them.
I think this is an intimate space, and I could just go around asking you questions about all your paraphernalia, and it would be an entire podcast. You have such great little pieces in here that have stories behind each one.
Food. History books going back to 16, 1700s.
Oh my gosh.
It's all about food. Food is the heart of the universe.
Food is life.
Food is the way we can make a better tomorrow.
Food is culture. Food is our anchor and our hope for the future.
And food can be vegan.
Yes. I should say food is our anchor to our past and our hope for our future.
Are you one of the most famous vegans in the history of veganism? I am pronouncing vegan in the right English.
Well, you pronounce like my mother does.
Vegan?
We say vegan.
Yeah, but I have an accent.
Yeah, so you can basically get away with anything.
I am a Washingtonian with an accent. Vegan.
I wish I could blame all my pronunciations.
I don't like names. I don't understand why we have to call everybody something.
No, the labels are no good.
Actually, they're good when you are trying to define people, but everybody should be people. And we all should respect people. And all the problems of the world will go away.
My brother,
Who are you? People. Who I am? People. I respect you, you respect me, and be whatever you want to be.
I agree. There's a sinister delusion of otherness that is cancerous. We need to start understanding that there is no other. We're all really are one.
So, okay, vegan.
So in 1992, I used to be an athlete. I used to be chiseled. Now I just jiggle.
You're not chiseled now.
I'm not chiseled now.
You're not very chiseled to me. And for the record, people of America, people of the world, this is the first time I use the word chiseled. This is what I love about America. Every day you learn a new word.
Listen, I used to be a tight end, which is an American football position, but there's nothing tight about me anymore. But back when I was an athlete at Stanford, I began to be pulled towards vegetarianism as a way to perform better as an athlete. And by the time I got to Oxford, I was a vegetarian, 1992. And so from 1992 until 2014, for health reasons originally, I was a vegetarian. But then I started learning about factory farming and a lot of the challenges in our food system and its environmental impact of this, the way we deal with food in this country, nothing like our heritage, nothing like what built this country. I began to make decisions that more aligned with my principles.
Do you make all those changes on your own, or was people around you that pushed you to start being so aware that tell me what you eat and I will tell you who you are? In this case, is tell me what you eat and I will tell you how you perform.
Well, a couple things. First of all, I don't like judgmentalism. I don't want anybody telling me what to eat. I don't want nobody should tell other people what to eat. We're all on a journey, right? We're all on a journey. And so I was just a journey of exploration and experimentation. I was trying different things, what worked better for me as an athlete. But when I gave up meat, my athletic performance took off. And by the way, if you look at Tom Brady, if you look at Olympic athletes, power lifters, these diets often work for them in terms of their performance. But then I became a young man trying to do what Gandhi talked about, living this life of just trying, not forget the perfecting others, just trying to live in as close alignment to my own integrity as possible. And look, the industrial factory farming, what it's doing to environments, what it's doing to low-income communities, what it's doing to farmers, what it's doing to farm workers, a lot of these things didn't comport with my values. And so I said, look, I don't need this to live. And I tell you, I've had a great journey so far.
You spoke to your coach about it when you gave up meat? Because we see football players like meat eaters, pure cannibalism.
Look, in 1992, when I turned it, I had just gone to Oxford, so I had a coach. I was playing. We played basketball. We won the national championship, but it wasn't like American sports.
Yes, you're listening to me putting a glass of water to Senator Booker. Why? Because he loves water.
Yeah, but now I'm afraid people are going to hear me moaning. This baba ganoush Oh my gosh.
Yeah, baba ganoush and hummus and
I would
endives.
walk miles
I
to
don't know
have
if they're
this.
from New Jersey, and radishes. Yeah, we have good food for our guest.
Do you know the nickname? Do you know the nickname of New Jersey?
Nope.
The Garden
Oh
State.
my God! Yes, I knew that. Yes, The Sopranos. Yeah,
we are-
obviously, how I forgot about
We
the
are the Garden State because
We didn't see a lot of vegetables in The Sopranos. I can tell you that.
but we are one of the big states for what they call specialty crops,
Yep.
according to the Farm Bill. But specialty crops are what people tell us to eat the majority of, fruits and vegetables.
Okay, so let's finish with your veganism.
Sure.
So it's so funny to me that for some people this is almost like provocative. They will call you woke. They will tell you you want to end the hot dogs of America. They want you to end the oxen and the beef. The people that are only eating vegetables, they are trying to end the American way of life. What do you have to say about that?
I have to say that some of my best allies in reforming the American food system are cattlemen and women, are people who want to raise chickens and want to raise hogs the right way, the way our heritage is done, not with these multinational corporations that are doing things that... I remember going to meet with conservative farmers in places like Southern Illinois who had been farming in their families generations. They had their Homestead Act deed on their wall. And they were talking to me about how this multinational consolidation, monopolistic behavior is putting them in a situation where 5 generations keeping the farm, and now they're a threat of losing it. The challenge, they said to me, one guy said, I used to be able to drink out of my well. I can't do that anymore since the CAFO moved down, concentrated animal feeding operation. I used to be able to fish from my creek. It's so polluted now with these lagoons of feces that are often outside of these massive CAFOs. It is such an aberration. People on the left and the right understand this. And so I'm not trying to tell people to stop eating hamburgers. Have all the hamburgers you want. My point is we need to have a food system that is designed for our well-being and our health, for the success of our farmers, for the economic livelihood of our farm workers, for our ecology, for our environment. And all of this can align in ways that are very similar, by the way, to the way our grandparents and great-grandparents ran family farms. Independent family farmers in this country are going out of business at astonishing rates. Their share of the consumer dollar, because of all this concentration, corporate concentration, has gone down to 14 cents from like just a short time ago, 40 cents of every dollar we spend on our tomatoes or our bacon. And the farmer suicide rate is 2 to 3 times higher than the average American, because here you have farmers who've been on this land, been on their family land for generations, but now the economics are not working because companies like Monsanto, now Bayer, consolidating, raising the cost of their inputs. The companies that used to be 5 bidding for their cattle, now there's 1, and dictating their price. The food system is broken for everyone. And what we have to do you started off saying the right word, the otherness, the illusion of separateness. The same food system is hurting my kids who walk into a corner grocery store and can buy a Twinkie product cheaper than an apple because of all of our subsidies as a government are going to what's in the Twinkie and nothing to the fruits or vegetables. It's broken for them. It's all the way from the producers. It's broken for them. The people in America that grow our food, our poultry, our beef, our vegetables, our fruit, those producers it's broken for as well.
So who was going to tell you, or who was going to tell me and the people listening to you, that the young boy that changed his diet to vegetables, it became deeper than that? You began getting deep in the way you're feeding yourself, in the way we're feeding the communities, in the way we are feeding America, but starting by the people that produce those foods. Obviously, what you began when you were a young person has become something very important in you, the person the senator is today. I see you giving these talks often. I see how important is food for you as a person, as a citizen, and as a senator. And the way you're living your life, you're also making sure that others can have access to those and fruits and vegetables that is making your life. I mean, you have to be very healthy. If I get your blood samples, you're ready to be president. You're ready to run for president because you will have the perfect score on any health rate.
I did my blood work recently. I'm very proud of my blood work. My blood sugar, I'm happy with my own health. What I'm not happy about is in the United States of America, we have seen diet-related diseases skyrocket. 1 out of every 3 of our government dollars now is being spent on healthcare, and about 80% of the healthcare spending is on diet-related diseases that are preventable.
Do we repeat this enough? Because sometimes it seems it's the right versus the left, Democrats versus Republicans.
It's not.
This is Americans.
It's Americans. And
why this simple message shouldn't be America and being an American, being part of fighting for a healthier America.
America, right. Look, we need, every generation of Americans needs to focus on putting more indivisible into the one nation under God, and stop this delusion that the lines that divide us are somehow stronger than the ties that bind us. I could go anywhere in this country, and our parents want the same thing for their children, and so much of that starts with food. Food is love, but what also is love? Love is empathy and compassion, and when you lose that empathy and compassion, that's when the cancerous, sinister division can happen. And so there are a lot of corporate entities that benefit from our divisions. You and I both know a man named Van Jones, another bald brother like me without hair. He was on this show called Crossfire with Newt Gingrich. Now, Brene Brown says a beautiful thing, the author. She says, it's hard to hate up close, so pull people in. So the two of them started doing the show together, and they realized they liked each other. And they realized they agreed on a lot of things. And so they decided to do, at the end of the show, a segment called Ceasefire, the last segment. But the producers stopped them because ratings were going down. Because what sells is the conflict and the divide and we hate you and the outrage and the manufactured fear and outrage. That sells. That keeps our eyes on our little screens and our phones. It keeps the 24-hour cable nations going, but it's a lie. We as Americans agree on the majority of stuff far more than our televisions and our social media tells us. And that is allowing what I think the things to win, which is narrow, concentrated corporations to win over the interest of our farmers, of our families, of our faith, because food is connected to faith. You and I know this, the things that actually bind us together.
So last year, you gave up sugar. You're highly controversial.
Yes, but why?
Because if you give up sugar, means it's the people in favor of sugar or the people against no sugar. You, Senator,
yes,
are highly controversial. You gave for 61 days sugar.
Yes.
Why?
Well, first of all, I don't want to demonize any one food. We often say, "Oh, I don't want this." That causes, I think, really bad effects on your own psyche. But America has to confess that we eat more than 50, we are the highest sugar consumers on the planet, and high rates of sugar is related to a lot of diet-related diseases. And what we do, most Americans don't realize this, we dramatically subsidize sugar. Again, everything in that Twinkie, everything in that those processed foods.
Sodas?
Sodas. We are subsidizing that so that kids go in can get a $1 meal someplace at some fast food restaurant, but if they try to get a salad, they're paying $15 for a bucket of salad at some salad place. Because only 7% of our ag subsidies, 7% of the farm subsidies in our farm bill go to fruits and vegetables that government nutritionists tell you to eat the majority of. The rest of our farm bill, we're spending subsidizing these things that are making this highly processed, sugar-filled foods so readily available. If you believe in the free market, then you probably should stand up and say, stop the government subsidies for the stuff that's making us sick. And if anything, what you want to do, you want to learn how to save a government dollar? This is the greatest thing in the world, to save a government dollar, because the studies show this. If you invest in people's access to fruits and vegetables, the pharmaceutical companies lose, because you put every dollar you put into medically tailored meals, you have diabetes, hypertension, blood pressure, stroke risk, all of these things, we take all these...
Obesity.
We take tons of pharmaceutical drugs. Pharmaceutical companies, this rising rates, diabetes spending alone in the last 5 years has gone up 25%. And so here you have half a population now is diabetic or pre-diabetic. So the pharmaceutical companies are winning. But if you are a taxpayer and you say, wait a minute, if I give people easy or open access to fruits and vegetables, guess what happens to rates of diet-related diseases? They go down. And so if you are a free market, small government person, conservative, stop making the junk food so cheap through farm subsidies.
Yeah, you should run on the Republican Party. Because actually,
I want to run on America's party. I want to run on the American Party.
Too, because that's why you are known as a senator that
works across the aisle. I want to bring people together. My book is called United. I want to bring people together.
United, and we recommend this book. So here is a vegetarian that is speaking against sugar. Then it looks like you are also speaking against the sugar industry. Obviously, it seems. Let me finish.
Okay.
That you're speaking against subsidies. It seems you are. I agree with you on all of that, but we are not speaking against no sugar.
No.
We're not speaking against no sugar companies or no subsidies. What
Exactly.
we're saying in a way is, can we find a balance?
Yes.
Can we find a balance
Yes.
in the consumption of sugar?
Yes.
Can we find a balance in the way subsidies are given to companies? Why the specialty crops, as New Jersey
Yes.
is known for,
Yes.
they barely receive any help from the federal government, but then other super big companies seems
Right.
to offshore they are successful. We are subsidizing every single thing they produce.
Yes. You and I believe in freedom. If you want your big gulp slushy and a hamburger, eat your big gulp slushy and a hamburger. But do you want government to take the true cost of that and subsidize it so low as opposed to using our resources to do what we know? And this is what you know. Families, they get access to healthy, nutritious food. Study after study shows kids do better in school. That's better for all of us. Every child that does better in school, it's related to their productivity over their lifetime. The whole country gets better. Here's what we know. Children who get healthy diets have less involvement with the police. Oh my gosh, crime's going down. They've done programs giving people incarcerated access to fresh, healthy foods, growing. And guess what happens? Their rates of violence in the prisons go down. Because sugar, all these chemicals in our brains. Let me give you another example. They have found out that people who are sick, when I was mayor of my city, we took a whole city block and turned it into a farm. I was out there filming a documentary, Food Inc., famous documentary. Yes. You know this. Yes. They're doing Food Inc. too. And so they had me out in the farm in the middle of a low-income inner city community, and we didn't plan it. 80-year-old comes up. I was diabetic for years. I started sourcing all my diet from here, and now I'm off my...
Everything changed.
Miracle. Another woman says $700 worth of prescription drugs for her gut issues, in quotes I'm putting, for her gut issues. Her doctor, she started sourcing all her food from there. And by the way, I think her copay was only $100, she told me. So who's picking up those other $600 that's going to the pharmaceutical company? Taxpayers, government is. Now, sourcing all of her food from this beautiful inner city urban farm, doctor says, miracle, you're cured.
Food is medicine.
Oh, that's the phrase. Say that again.
Food is medicine.
It is medicine. They've understood this for your books. You said go back to the 1600s. This idea of food is medicine goes back thousands of years. They knew that food was better than any medical, pharmaceutical prescription. They didn't even have that stuff then, but food is medicine.
What I love about listening to you speak about the people, and the people you are next to them with boots on the ground, that they feel is the only way we can do real change.
Yes.
Now when we talk from
you and
from somewhere above Congress and the Capitol, but when you are there next to you people, I was all across America during the pandemic very much.
Yes.
Obviously I was in Newark.
You were
during the
all
pandemic,
over New Jersey.
We saw the weaknesses in our systems, especially talking about food. So when you're describing all of this to me, it's things you, as a mayor, as a citizen, as a senator, you've seen, you listen to the people.
Yes.
And what you're describing is how food insecurity, in more ways than one, affects everyday American citizens.
Jose, first of all, you've taught me, because when the crisis breaks out on the planet Earth, I hear from you not the bureaucracies often. You understand what's needed on the ground. It's the same thing in America. I love this idea of local government, making local decisions. Global food systems, by the way, are fragile. They're very fragile. Local or regional food systems are far stronger, connected to community, farmers connected to people. Donald Trump, you didn't expect me to talk about Donald Trump. They had a food box idea that we believe is a great idea. Is starting to find ways, food is medicine, take people with diet-related diseases, connect them to the people who produce foods, and we know that if we can create systems where I call them medically tailored meals, because this is a pilot program in the Biden administration as well. If doctors could start prescribing fruits and vegetables, you can get them all you want free. There's another program that allows you to double your food stamps, because food stamps right now make billions of dollars for Coke and Pepsi. Billions of dollars for Coke and Pepsi.
And we have nothing against Coke and Pepsi.
Nothing. I love these American companies. I want them to thrive.
But
have your Coke and a smile. But you know what? Don't allow people to have singular options of the junk because it's so cheap because of our subsidies, and then can't afford to get the stuff that's healthy. That's why these pilot programs I'm fighting for in the Farm Bill, some of them already exist, like GusNip is one of those programs, to create programs where people are incentivized to eat the healthy stuff.
Number one and number two countries in the world with the highest levels of obesity, the United States and Mexico. Yeah. Country number one and number two in the highest consumption of sodas.
Yes.
The United States and Mexico.
And Mexico.
There is obviously correlation. And what we cannot do is that the loss of the land, in a way, our government is the one that by not having the right way to support our citizens and our systems, we are, in a way, the government is, in a way, the one creating certain problems that they shouldn't be happening in the first place.
And this is when you talk to farmers, the producers of our food. You talk to them, there are a solution to climate change. I talk to organic farmers in New Jersey. They can't even qualify for some crop insurance programs because they're not doing the farming the way this commoditization of our farming, where all the incentives are. And so here you have farmers that are trapped in a system. You saturate the earth with glyphosate, Roundup. You have these seeds that are now, I don't know how you do this, but you patent biology. So you have these seeds that are Roundup resistant. So you're growing crops now, chemically saturated.
And if they go down because they win on the farm, on the farmer next to you, those companies can even sue that farmer because they are carrying a seed on paper they didn't pay for.
Right.
This is a crazy system we're creating.
But you and I know biodiversity is life. And so we're killing our soil, turning into dirt, because as glyphosates go into our soil, they kill everything that's there. They go into our rivers and our streams. One of the biggest dead zones in America is at the bottom of Mississippi, where it dumps out because of all those chemicals now going into our waters, killing our fish, killing people's livelihoods, and correlated with deep cancers and other problems that people have. You talk to farmers, they feel like they're trapped. They know what it means. And by the way, this contributes to flooding and runoff because healthy soil soaks in the water. Unhealthy runoffs. Healthy soil, it takes the carbon out of the air. It actually pulls carbon down and puts it into the soil where it could be at. There are ways to do these systems that help everybody win. Farmers, this is one of the things I'm fighting in the Farm Bill, is to fund them to use these regenerative practices, to use these environmental practices that can help, from cover cropping and other things that help pull down carbon, end a lot of this crazy flooding we see in the Midwest, or address some of those issues. There's so many solutions we know now work. But again, who is sucking up all the taxpayer dollars right now? The status quo. And I say it's this unholy alliance between big multinational corporations and pharmaceutical companies, because the subsidies protect the food that makes us sick, and then everybody runs to the pharmaceutical companies to get their drugs that help you with your blood pressure or your hypertension or what have you. And that's the problem right now. We've got to find a way to break that hold and start getting back to the farm system of our grandparents that really was sustainable for everybody. And the last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, Jose, because you and I both
I'm all ears. I'm learning so much.
The one
I mean,
thing
I don't vote in New Jersey, but
listen.
I'm about to change the
The
states.
one farmer in the Senate is a guy named John Tester. You know Tester, right?
Oh, yeah.
He has this joke that I love. He goes, when I was growing up, before all the corporate monopolization went on, we had so much diversity in my town. We had a high school, I can't remember the numbers exactly, but let's say 2,000 kids in my high school. We had 4 banks in our downtown, 5 bars, thriving mainstream. But now these multinational corporations are not based in any of these areas. They're pulling out all the resources, farming, consolidating these big corporations. He goes, now we've got like 100 kids in my high school, no banks in our downtown anymore, and only 1 bar, Tester says, because I keep it in business when I go home and drink every weekend. But that's a joke, but it's true. We see our rural areas really hurting in America. I can't tell you how many downtowns I've gone through where you see the empty bank building, you see the supermarkets aren't there, but the Dollar Generals, no disrespect to the Dollar Generals or the dollar stores or whatever they're called, but our rural areas are suffering. Rural hospitals now closing at alarming rates.
Not only in America, rural around the world seems is hurting.
Right.
And we're doing something wrong with rural in America and around the world.
Because we've created a corporate global food system.
The people that feed America and the people that feed the world, sometimes it seems they cannot feed themselves.
Well, this is the irony. So much of this stuff that we're growing isn't to feed human beings. It's to
cattle.
It's go to cattle,
chickens,
and not the kind that people want to eat. The factory farmed ones, genetically modified chickens.
Or to make energy.
Secretary
Bills of USDA, technically, he's Secretary of Energy. Why? Because we use corn to make
so the stuff that
ethanol.
The stuff that we want our families to eat is not necessarily the stuff that we're not growing this in the way that people think. And a lot of the problems, the number one reason for deforestation is clearing land to raise a lot of this industrial factory farmed meat. And again, it's not the kind of meat that my friends who are meat eaters are looking for higher quality meat. They're looking for meat that's not in factory farms. It's not a part of these abusive systems where they put pigs in these tiny little cages that then they cover over in big buildings so Americans can't see how their pork is being raised. It's creating an environment. We just came through a pandemic. I don't know if you know this, Jose, but tens of thousands of Americans every year now are dying because of antibiotic-resistant strains. Where do we use most of our antibiotics?
Animals.
Animals, in factory farmed animals. We didn't need the antibiotics when our great-grandparents were raising animals, or our grandparents were, because they weren't in these closed-up pens where they have to use the antibiotics as a preventative measure to try to stop the diseases that spread through these big caged warehouses. And so people don't understand. We are pushing ourselves to the point where we can go from 30,000, 40,000 people dying every year from antibiotic-resistant strains of disease to suddenly becoming to the point where we have these strains growing so big that we have no way of stopping them.
The richest country in the history of mankind can and should be feeding its citizens better, not worse. And it seems the system is pushing us to feed Americans every day worse.
The wealthiest country on the planet should have the healthiest food system, the best access to healthy foods. We should not be leading the world in obesity. We should not be leading the world in diabetes. We should not be a world leader, not the world leader in diabetes, but a world leader in diabetes, hypertension, blood pressure, stroke, all of these things. We are a nation that should be able to afford food systems that make healthy food readily available to families. No matter where you live, rural, urban, suburban, we should not have a nation where you see this much human suffering, this much dependency on pharmaceutical drugs for life. We need to start talking a different conversation in America about health, well-being, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical.
You mentioned President Trump and the food boxes. Obviously, it was not an idea of their administration, many other countries, yes. America and other countries. But yes, they did it. Actually, I remember being on the 16th, 17th of March at the USDA and talking with the team there about what we were going to do for what was going to be a very difficult time for a lot of families. So those boxes happen. Many other things happen. We did what we call the restaurants that became almost
you helped
a
to
bill,
save Newark restaurants,
where was using more than 3,000 restaurants to be activated. So schools,
You helped
elderly
save-
homes, hospitals,
Yes,
making sure
in
that
America, you
the
helped-
private sector that was closing down, we were able to be helping the government to feed their citizens in a very dark hour. This was America showing how witty and how creative we can be. One of the things that should be in everybody's minds in the Farm Bill is SNAP, what we call food stamps. When I go across America, I don't see Republicans or Democrats that sometimes they have a hard time to make it at the end of the month. I see Americans that sometimes have a hard time making it at the end of the month. Should be the role of the government to make sure those Americans, who happens are Republicans and Democrats, and we could argue that in some places that are really poor, happens they are what we call Republican states. Why is not everybody supporting 100% SNAPs, food stamps, that families in America that fall behind could be going with dignity to the markets? I will even argue to expand their use to farmers markets, to why not, to diners or to food trucks so they can feed their families with dignity, and in the process the federal government keep putting money in the economy as they are feeding the families in need.
So you and I, as most Americans, are motivated by empathy, compassion, by the ideal of love thy neighbor. But I want to talk to people about just return on the investment. I want to talk to people about using your government dollars for things that actually grow your country, create more opportunity. One of the best government dollars you can invest is investing in making sure a child in America is not hungry and is not nutritionally poisoned. You know, that their diet is not all hyper-processed foods, sugar, salt, the kind of stuff that comes in the packaging in the middle of the supermarket, not the stuff at the end. You invest dollars there, your country thrives. Your nation runs on the health of its children. Because the health of its children is the health of the body, it's connected to the health of the mind. In a global, knowledge-based environment, the country that will do best, it's no longer the factories, your country. We are a global, knowledge-based society. The country that will do best in the future, next 100 years, will be the country that best cultivates the genius of their children. And genius cannot thrive in starvation or poisoning or food poisoning, i.e. eating an overabundance of these processed foods.
I mentioned this often. 1896, a Frenchman, Brillat Savarin, he said, the future of the nations will depend on how they feed themselves.
Yes, God.
This summarizes.
When was that said?
1826. I had the book right there in that shelf.
I love
but
that.
We keep going. Last year we had the White House Food Conference.
Yes.
I was so happy. Many people push over the years. The last one happened 1969, the year I was born.
You and I both born.
Over
Class of 69.
53 years ago. So it was a lot of things we hope to come out of this White House conference in the next year or two. Obviously, we spoke about food stamps, but school lunches. School lunches, they should be universal. Baltimore, they just announced that, God willing, they're going to be making sure that every public school in Baltimore, every children will have universal breakfast and lunch.
Yes. No more having to go through that thing of like, no, every child, come together, common table. Don't have to prove we're all going to eat together. We're all going to talk together. We're all going to be eligible for that. It's a wonderful thing Baltimore's doing.
I will say you will agree with me that seems not only people in America, but around the world, but we live in America, we care about America, we love America. Seems that people, for one reason or another, are frustrated about how ineffective seems government sometimes is. That we only see fight between the politicians instead of coming with ideas, throwing the problem at each other, finger pointing at each other.
Yes.
So I see you as a very pragmatic, boots on the ground, idealistic politician. How do you cope with it? And there is hope that everyday Americans, we can come together and listen to politicians like you that are working so hard in moving issues with real bills, real ideas. Do we have hope at the end of the tunnel?
There is always hope. There is always hope. The great thing is People think that meanness and hate is viral. Kindness and love are as well. I remember on a plane recently, I was putting up my overhead baggage, and some people are really being nice to me, recognizing me, but I sit down next to a mom and a daughter from Alabama. Mother is 80, daughter is 60. They were like, "Who are you? Are you a famous athlete?" And I go, "Thank you very much. I could be." But no, I say, "Ma'am, I'm a United States Senator." And the first thing we always want to know, left or right, we want to know, what tribe are you in? So she goes, "Are you a Democrat or Republican?" And I go, "Ma'am, I'm a Democrat." And she looks sour and angry. She goes, "Well, I should have brought my Trump hat." Now, that's every day in America, moments like that happen. But I don't like that music. I'm not going to dance to that tune. I'm going to try to avoid it. I'm going to try to scratch the record. And I looked at her and I go, "Oh my gosh, Donald Trump. He signed two of my biggest piece of legislation that I've ever written into law." And I started telling her about my criminal justice reform bill that a group of us got passed. Donald Trump signed that bill, and another bill to get investment in urban areas, opportunity zones, and rural areas. And before you knew it, she and I were talking, the three of us, having a good time as Americans, not as left and right, not as Republican or Democrat. It works even in the Senate. When I got to the Senate, I went to I was trying to get to know all my Republican colleagues, take them out to dinner, sit in their office. It was an incredible odyssey. I go to see Jim Inhofe, who just retired from the Senate. You probably know him, Oklahoma senator, considered to be a right-wing stalwart, chairman, older than me. I go to his office for Bible study. I figure I'm going to get to know him by going to his Bible study. And as soon as I walked in, I saw, as I'm looking around your office, something that challenged my implicit biases. We all have implicit biases about each other. I didn't expect to see him with a picture on his mantle of him and a little black girl in an affectionate embrace. And I call all my older senators by their titles. You know, they're not my peers. They're my older, like my parents' age, like our parents' age. I go, "Mr. Chairman, sir, who dat?" and he goes, "His family adopted this little girl out of really difficult circumstances." I was really moved by it. Many months later, a big education bill is going through the Senate. Lamar Alexander from Tennessee guarding the bill, not letting anybody put amendments on the bill. I understand the strategy. You don't want to let a bad amendment sink a bill. But I was frustrated because I had an amendment to help homeless and foster children. And I didn't know how to get it done, but I see Jim Inhofe in the well. I remember the little girl. I go up to him and I go, "Sir, would you be willing to co-sponsor this amendment with me?" He said, "Let me think about it." And eventually he says, "I'm in. I'm with you." I get him. I get Chuck Grassley. I get all these Republican elder statesmen from the Republican Party, chairman, and now it's the law of the land. That would not have happened if I did not go to sit with him in a human way, not a party way, not a left-right way, not assuming I knew everything about him, not realizing that we all, you and I both, are mountain ranges. We both have peaks and valleys. Sometimes we get so distracted by people's valleys, we forget that they too have peaks. And so I don't care if it's in the halls of Washington or in an airplane when we're traveling. We all have an obligation not to see the lines, but see the ties that bind us. Not to see the divisions, but to see the oneness. Not to play the tune that the larger businesses want us to play of hate, culture of contempt, of left-right politics, but to remind people that we are all humans and we have compelling things in common. And that's the basis for with which we could do great things in America.
God bless you. Would you run for president again?
I will consider it, yes.
Okay.
But not in 2024. Joe Biden's running, I suspect.
That's great. Would you consider making sure that every community in America will have a food market? No more food deserts ever again.
Brother, if I ever get in the White House, I almost said we, because whoever's a Republican running in the White House, they'd be crazy not to pull you in. We will do, if I should ever be president of the United States, I'm going to try to push as much change as a senator, but we're going to have fun if I'm president of the United States.
Food improvements districts.
Yes.
Like we did with business, but everything
yes.
food. Food at the heart of America.
Yes.
Healthier America, more
yes.
prosperous
Our original
America.
entrepreneurs are our farmers. Let's let them thrive again.
And last, would you consider to have a national food security advisor? We are about to have the biggest famine in the history of mankind if we're not ready by 2023, 2024. Argentina, Chile, they are having the biggest drought we see. Ukraine, that feeds 500 million people every year. They are in a war and grain production is going down. We're going to be having more droughts in Africa, in Asia, in America. We're having our own issues. We need to start taking food more seriously.
Yes.
And I listen to you and I see that you take food unbelievably seriously.
Yes.
Will you be the first food president of America one day?
I dream of doing that, but I hope that we see more of it done before should that not happen. We need someone to stand up and say, food is life. It's our anchor to our heritage, our anchor to our past. It is the best vehicle for a better hope, for a better tomorrow. And I'm telling you, if every table had beautiful, bodacious, beneficent baba ganoush on the table, I'd be very happy. This is great.
Okay, I'm going to end with a very tough question that may complicate your re-election as a senator.
Oh, no.
Depends the answer you give.
Okay.
What's the best place to eat in Newark these days?
Don't. That is a terrible question, my friend.
Oh, my
Newark,
God.
I will say this. Newark is a great dining city. Come for the Ironbound. Come for the downtown. Come for the soul food restaurant. Come for the Portuguese food, the Brazilian food. We are a food mecca. And I hope you and I can dine there again.
Yeah.
And thank you, because you helped to save a lot of Newark restaurants.
And
don't forget about the Jersey diners, like Andros.
He's a great politician, but on top of that, I know he believes what he preaches. Thank you, Senator.
I love you, man.
Love you too. God bless.
God bless you.